Dato del PMI que elabora el ISM. Vamos a hablar en los próximos minutos con su responsable de análisis. Lo vamos a hacer con Timothy Fiore, Share ISM Manufacturing PMI. Good afternoon. Timothy?
Yes, hello.
Yes, Timothy, hello. Manufacturing PMI at 47.6. What is happening with the economic situation in US?
Yes, so it was a good month. I think U.S. manufacturing is now in the trough, meaning that we're at the low end of low for this cycle. We've probably been there for 2 to 3 months. This month's performance exceeded expectations of the economists, and it also exceeded the 3-month rolling average. So that provides the support that we're probably sitting in the trough. We've been at 47 plus or minus a half a point now for about 5 months. I don't see us going any lower, and I think that we're just going to slowly climb out of this. And one of the reasons I feel confident about saying that is that in the month of June, we had 93% of manufacturing output contracting, meaning that they were coming in at 49.9 or lower. In that same month of June, 44% was contracting at 45 or less, which is a real alarm for me. Anything less than 45 is alarming. In the month of August, we had 63% contracting at 50 or less. And more importantly, we only had 16% contracting at 45 or less. So I think that supports the whole concept here that we've probably bottomed out, and not that the PMI number won't go lower, but it won't go significantly lower. So the other thing is that demand seems to be slowly recovering. Although the new order number was lower than the month of July, the fact that we actually grew backlog, given our production levels, was notable. And the backlog seems to be climbing back up. And we really want that backlog in a 55 range. Backlog is still sitting at 44.1. But in the prior month, it was sitting at 42.8. So I think we're slowly coming back on the demand side. And then I think that the headline for the month is that the output piece, production and employment, is really right-sized for the current environment, meaning that the production number was stable month to month. So last month we came down a bit, so we've stayed at that level now in the month of August. And employment eased a little bit too, not as much as the month of July, but we're still destaffing. And the reason that it's slower, I think, is that less companies are using layoffs to get to the headcount target. They're using attrition, which is a much slower process to get down to the headcount that you want to be. So the other question is, what does this mean for company profitability? I think the fact that companies are taking their headcount down, consistent with a lower output forecast based on the fact that new orders have been so sluggish, is a positive. I think the prices piece, it came down another 1.5 or 2 points from the prior month. It didn't meet the decline that we saw in July, but it's still coming down nonetheless, but very gradually. I think our material input costs are about where they're going to be now for the balance of the year, outside of any unusual geopolitical issue or a major action on the Fed's part. So I think we're in the trough, which means we're probably not going to go lower, at least no more than a half a point, and that we're slowly starting to grow back the order book. But it's going to take some time. I don't see us coming out of this trough and breaking that 50 point for probably the rest of the year. It's possible in December we might get there, but it's more likely it'll be first quarter next year.
In any case, new orders are still in contraction and prices are up 5.8%. Could they support a rise in inflation?
Well, I think we're kind of stable. For the watchers and listeners that watch the U.S. economy, the personal consumption expenditure number came out yesterday, and the core and the non-core piece for the month grew very slightly. And if you annualize that 1 month, it comes out to less than 3% inflation growth. If you look at the last 2 or 3 months, it's actually on that 2 to 2.5% trajectory. So I don't think the Fed's going to claim that they've got victory here, because there is continual pressure here on prices. Our panelist companies continue to argue very strenuously with their supply base about what the right price level is. And I think that that's actually what's happening now. We're entering the business planning season. So a lot of conversations are going on around forecast, demand, ultimate price support for 2024. And I think as we close the month of October, another 2 months, we'll know where we'll be. But I think the companies are doing a pretty good job protecting their profit. I think we've seen the last couple of quarters profit come down about 10% for the Fortune 500. It wouldn't surprise me if that continues as we close the year here, but that's not a collapsing profit situation. That's a managing profit situation. I think that's all good. I think the slow decline, if we're sitting here in the trough, then it's obviously been a relatively soft landing. And I think that, us being in the trough indicates that it has been a soft landing. So, I think we're going to continue to not see any really extreme declines or increases in activity here for probably the next 6 months.
Timothy, Fiore, as always, thank you so much for being on Negocios Televisión.
Thanks, Javier. Good to be with you.
Bueno, pendientes de este dato de la economía.